my master's name is H.W.L. Punja, Papaji, and his master's name is Ramana Maharshi. And really, I'm here only in behalf of sharing my master's teachings with you. I don't fancy myself a guru. I don't fancy myself as having students. I don't get any money, although I get all my food expenses paid for, so I try to eat a lot while I'm here. So, this is not an enrollment of any kind. So really, it's, for me, I think an opportunity to really share these teachings freely, openly, and I invite everyone to really make best use of our time together. If I could serve you in any way, I'll be most happy to. Really, my master's teachings are what I hold most dear to my heart, most sacred. For I found in these teachings the possibility of really recognizing one's true nature here and now. The possibility of seeing in this moment that one's true nature is pure consciousness. And seeing clearly, doubtlessly, that we are not who we habitually take ourselves to be. This separate individual, searching, seeking, suffering, hoping, strategizing self. And in seeing that one's nature is pure consciousness, to really ruthlessly let go of any and everything that obscures this simple, direct recognition. And in this letting go, it's possible to let go of so much needless suffering. We know that there's so much suffering inevitable being a human being. We know there's so much suffering on this Mother Earth. Needn't entertain, indulge the needless, habitual suffering that is born of the uninvestigated assumption that we are this separate being. I mean, the truth of the truth is we're not this person we take ourselves to be. We're really not, although it really appears, of course, in everyday, ordinary, waking state. It seems very much like we're the thinker of thoughts and the doer of actions. Possible here and now to see that thoughts arise of themselves and disappear of themselves without a thinker. Possible to see that everything is happening of itself without a doer even. And this is the truth. So satsang is in behalf of the pointing out of what is unchanging, what is eternal, and the possibility of coming to rest finally in that which is your Buddha nature, this simple awareness. So my master was all the time saying, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. So what does this mean, be quiet? It doesn't mean the arduous practice of attempting to silence this mind. It doesn't mean doing away with thinking. It doesn't mean thoughts are the enemy. Be quiet means the recognition of what is already always silent. Well, what is it that's already always silent? What is it that's perfectly still? unmoving, unchanging, formless, indescribable. It is this very consciousness in which these words are displaying right here and right now. It is consciousness itself that you are. So in behalf of this, if there's any method to this teaching, which finally one comes to realize there is not, if there is, it is following thoughts back to the source from whence they arise. And following thought back to the source, one can see for one's own self the direct experience that thoughts arise from that which is referred to often as emptiness, silence itself. Silence itself. Okay, Ram Kumar, you can go now. So this is really all I've come to say. So, if there are any questions regarding my master's teachings, please, I'll be happy to answer if I can.
Say an example, like recently, just, out mowing a lawn, and, for 2 or 3 hours, just mowing a lawn and working away, and then it's like, is this an awakened state? Because there doesn't seem to be any thoughts. I'm just working, or when I'm working in the garden, or when I'm cleaning, or, it's not like there's any thought, but it's not like, I guess I wonder if that is an awakened state, because it appears to me when I look at people's lives, like my parents, they just run around and grocery shop and do their life without much thought. And I know that if I'm really busy in my life, I can do the same thing. I also know that I have self-inquiry, that I do self-inquiry, but when I'm, just mowing the lawn for a few hours or just working really hard, there's just that doingness. Is that an awakened state?
You see, I really don't think there's anything called an awakened state, really. Nor do I think there's anything called a bound state, really. I know that it appears as if there is this seeker, the spiritual seeker, who is hoping for liberation. Maybe there'll be some great teacher and great teaching and great moment of self-realization. And in this great moment of self-realization, the sense of, now I am free. And one will then walk around declaring their freedom. But if that one stops for a moment and really looks to see, is there some separate individual there who is now free? That one isn't found. If one also stops and looks for the one who is bound, that one is not found. The bound one is pure fiction. The liberated one is also pure fiction. There isn't anybody to liberate, and that's the truth. Your pure consciousness itself, the one who appears as mother and father, shopping, the one who appears to be the one mowing the lawn, pure consciousness itself, appearing as this individual mower and shopper. But if you look, and this to me is what's so exquisite about my master's teaching, it's possible to see, to confirm for one's own self the truth of the truth. Not a question of belief, not a question of handing over your authority to one who says this is the way it is. It's the possibility of looking and seeing for your own self. Possible to see that all activity that appears to be done by some separate individual doer is actually only happening of itself. Only happening of itself. Not a question of any state. It's not a question of, oh, so there's no thoughts arising, so now this is the liberated state. Oh, now there's these thoughts or this emotional display or mental state displaying, now I've lost it. Oh, woe is me. And the search begins again. It's not the case. It's a very fundamental misunderstanding that I see again and again. This idea that there's supposed to be some state in place which is the grand attainment and evidence of my liberation. But this misunderstanding is the same misunderstanding that there is some bound one there too. Mowing lawn is mowing lawn. Simple, natural. Thoughts may be arising or not. Most likely, yes. Since it's the nature of thoughts to think, to display. Thinking happens, breathing happens, all the senses of the body happening, the clouds passing overhead, the birds chirping. It's all happening. All displaying the very consciousness that you are. So, I'm not pointing to any state. I'm not speaking about any state. I'm not encouraging anyone to be concerned about thoughts arising or not arising. Only suggesting that if one wants to confirm for one's own self one's true nature as pure consciousness, to look directly, here and now, to the very source from whence these thoughts are arising. And then you see this. We're very simple. Very simple. And you can see that the very consciousness that you are, the very consciousness I am, the very consciousness that your parents are, same consciousness, different expression, appearing in all these many ways. All these millions and millions of human beings. So, to be free of the idea that there's any state to attain. See how constricting, what bondage it is to this continual seeking after some state and hope for that to stay in place, or at least last for a very long time. But we know, it's so obvious how how many millions of emotional states have come and gone, and mental states have come and gone, and spiritual states have come and gone. It dawns on one sooner or later the impermanent nature of everything. What is it that's not changing? What is it that's not coming and going? And this is always what's pointed to in Satsang. And just letting things be as they are. Not needing anything to be other. Different. I like to say, if you just sit back on the throne of witness consciousness and just simply witness what is displaying. You can just let things arise, display, and go, and see the ever-changing panorama. And then see how you are perfectly still. You, the witnessing itself. You are that witnessing. That you are. And sometimes it's simple to just rest in this witnessing, and sometimes it really appears that we are the separate suffering one. All that's happening of itself, this coming to rest, and the expression, identification, disidentification, all happening of itself. Remembering one's true nature, forgetting one's true nature, all happening of itself. No need to do anything. No need to struggle with anything. We love to struggle. We spiritual seekers are addicted to seeking. It's so hard to stop seeking. I've seen people really have profound events of self-realization, absolutely convinced the search is over, it's done, it's come to an end. And you turn your head for a minute, my God, it's all picked up again. There is an addiction to seeking. And it's really, in some ways, an expression of our real depth of sincerity and really, in our search, we've taken our search quite seriously, passionately. How beautiful that is, how fortunate. And how fortunate letting the search come to an end also. But most spiritual teachings really speak about the demand for great effort and practice over, if not this lifetime, a number of lifetimes. Rare is it that there is a teaching that says the very freedom that you are seeking for is found only in this moment called here and now. No need to postpone. This was my master's uncompromising, fierce pointing to this moment alone, this moment, this moment, this moment, now. The spiritual seeker is seeking the eternal. Somewhere along the line, when we were children, I think, or a little bit older, we somehow, when we were dealing with this idea of eternity, we realized it had to include this moment. But as we got older and we were searching for the eternal, we were looking everywhere else but this now. That's a funny one. We kept overlooking now in our search for the eternal. So, looking now. It becomes quite ordinary. Very, very ordinary. Every day, mowing lawn, shopping, taking care of parents, looking after, being a real human being. Normal even. I've never said that before. It's not about attempting to attain some grand exalted state. It's bound to go, most definitely. Guaranteed.
Thank you, Hanuman.
You're welcome. This. Tell me your name again.
My name is Gita.
Gita.
Hello, Hanuman. My name is Corey.
Corey.
And I just wanted to ask about confusion. And you were mentioning how you're here to talk about your teachers and answer the teachings of your teacher. Sorry, my paraphrasing, but How do you know you're not making mistakes?
How do you know that you're not making mistakes?
In response to something like your teacher's teachings.
So, really...
Confusion's the big thing.
So, I would say first things first, before being concerned about mistakes, makes more sense to look and see who this I is that might be making them or not. So who are you referring to?
I just the word confusion came up for me today, and yesterday, and the day before that, actually.
So,
and I found that I was very confused about a lot of things, and when I admitted that, I felt confused again.
So you were very clearly confused. There's no doubt about it.
Do you ever feel that way?
So, I'm sure I do.
All right.
And you see, it's easy to claim one thing or another. It really appears as if there's someone who's doing it right or someone who's making a mistake. But I tell you, beyond how it appears is the clear, doubtless seeing that everything, without exception, and when I say without exception, I mean absolutely without exception, everything is happening of itself. Everything. Not sometimes, not mostly. That the doer, the separate individual one who claims to be confused, doesn't exist in truth. So you see, what is confusion? Confusion is thoughts, maybe accompanying sensations, maybe an accompanying emotional state. These thoughts and feelings and sensations are displaying in consciousness. You are the very consciousness in which that display is displaying in. Really, the heart of these teachings is to see, is to really disidentify with the illusory one, the one we appear to be, and to identify with that which we are in truth. So that's why I'm always saying first things first. At least have a glimpse of that which you truly are. And then you see if there's anybody really confused. No doubt the state of confusion appears and disappears, for sure. But really to no one at all. So it's why I say, who's claiming confusion?
That's the trick.
Trick.
Tricking myself, actually. Yeah.
Now I know, because I don't want to sound insane, I know it really does appear like we're separate individual people. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And beyond appearances is reality. And really, satsang is in behalf of pointing out reality. And yes, there is a seeming dance between what is real and what appears to be real. This lila, this divine play. I like to speak of it sometimes as this dance between consciousness at rest, this vast, formless, spacious beingness. Can't even speak of it, really. This dance with then this consciousness coming into expression now, appearing as this individual. So sometimes it appears as if this consciousness comes to the foreground. And that sense of separate individuality recedes far back, almost disappearing. And sometimes it appears that separate individual comes to the foreground, and this true, vast nature consciousness recedes like this. And it's like this that is this lila, this divine play, all happening of itself. It's quite amazing. It's quite amazing. So possible to get unconfused, so to speak, and you were never confused in reality, by just simply, once again, taking this throne of witness consciousness and simply witness the thinking. All this mishmash of thinking called confusion. And see that it's happening over here, somewhere. These thinking, these thoughts. And then simply also see that you, the very witnessing, is at ease, at peace, fearless, as always. Clear, untouched by the confused thoughts spinning around. Is this clear? Is it making sense? Yeah? No? No. Some maybe? Okay. Maria will tell me, Susan will tell me. Yes?
Hi, Hanuman. My name's Kathy.
Kathy.
I'd love it if you would talk about free will versus destiny.
Free will versus destiny. Wait, that's page 56. Free will. Well, doesn't it appear as if there's free will? Doesn't it appear that we can choose? This is a beautiful opportunity, again, to speak of this lila, because on the one hand, it really does appear as if there's free will, freedom of choice. That, of course, it appears that way. And then upon investigation, you see there's no chooser at all. It's an amazing paradox. It's an amazing play. And it's the sheer power of investigation, of inquiry, of direct seeing, to then discern what is truly true from what appears to be true. So though it appears to be that there is someone there who has free will, and that there is free will, upon investigation, there's no one there who has free will. Use the appearance of free will to choose freedom, choose well-being, choose that which is in behalf of ease and peace and love and compassion and wisdom, and choose to let go of any and everything that obscures love and peace and compassion and wisdom. You use this illusory sword in behalf of freedom. Destiny is free will versus destiny. I don't know about destiny. I know everything is happening of itself, and sometimes there's a sense of destiny. Sense of destiny is an inclination to look towards the future, a sense of unfoldment and direction. And one can see simply there's no future at all except that which is found in the imagination. Possible to see there's just this now, this eternal now. Regardless of what those hands on the clock say. Regardless of what those hands on the clock say those hands are always pointing to this moment, now. Now. And in this now, sometimes there is a sense of destiny. You are this now. Your very nature is this sense of I amness, presence, beingness. It's your own nature. So was there something you wanted to say about this free will?
Really, it's just been a question.
A question.
Oh.
Is there anything else?
No, thanks. That was good.
It's a
Good
relief
to listen to you.
to listen. It's a relief to let time come to an end, really. My master was amazing at letting time stop. In his presence, a great sense of timelessness. Amazing presence. A relaxation and ease just now. To be in his presence was, in some ways, to forego all striving. So much striving. Always feeling that we have to put so much effort to be that which, as it turns out, we already are. And this is why any kind of spirituality that's focused on practice in some ways reinforces an idea that there's someone who needs to do something to become something else. So most often, spiritual teachings have to do with becoming. And my master's teachings have everything to do with simple being. Hard for spiritual seekers to forego becoming in behalf of simple being.
I think what's come up for me as an issue around that has been around responsibility. And like, where's the responsibility in there? And that, the judgment I have of others not being responsible. And so in a way that, that brings up fear or around that. Responsibility.
The fear is in relationship to?
If there's nothing to do, then what is there to do?
Well, I'm saying there's nothing to do in behalf of being that which you already are. Just simply stop believing that you are somebody that somehow has to do something, and simply see right here, right now, that you are your consciousness itself, the living Buddha. Simply see this. It doesn't mean then that there is no longer the arising, compelling desire to be impeccably responsible. There's another really sad misunderstanding that often these teachings somehow, from time to time, are used in behalf of rationalizing and justifying quite irresponsible behavior. But it's not so much to be concerned about what this one and that one is doing. if it's a vision of impeccability that is your own, look and see how responsible you can be. How are you responding with love and compassion and wisdom and skillfulness? What gets in the way of this? What can go? What can you choose to let go of in behalf of your desire to be an expression of impeccable responsibility? That's a warrior-like. Then you are more of an expression of walking your talk. And what more immediate non-duality can there be than being an expression of walking your talk? And what pressing duality there is when there is this sense of splitness between what we know and the expression of it in ordinary daily life. This is what's to be. You see. I like to say it's not some highfalutin recognition that we're one with that rock over there. Who cares? So what? But what about allowing this life to be an expression in behalf of truth and freedom and love, behalf of the heart, behalf of this suffering Mother Earth? It's not about attaining some exalted spiritual state. Really, it's about living life with true humanity, born of the recognition that that which you are, I am. That one that we do violence upon is our own true self, worthy of respect and compassion and mercy. It's not someone else. This devastation upon this Mother Earth is not happening somewhere else. Just this totality. You see? I'm sorry, it's so amazing when so often I have nothing to say and then I just keep going on and on. I don't mean to. So I would say humbly, I hope that better to sit in judgment of the apparent irresponsibility of another, be ruthless and bold in seeing what is already impeccable in your own self, what is already pure, pristine. Don't let this be your expression then. Again, it's a paradox. There is the recognition of one's essential pure nature. At the same time, a desire often arising to purify. So we see this vast ocean as already pure, and a desire for the apparent wave that seems separate to be equally pure. We'll see the wave is already pure, and if there seems to be apparent impurities, let them go. Let go what appears to be irresponsible. And then you'll be impeccably responsible. Then you'll see that this wave is the ocean, and that the apparent other is your own self. They're all very simple, very obvious. But in satsang, I always like to say first things first. First thing is see that which you truly are. Your true, unborn, undying nature. First things first.
In spite of having many glimpses of not seeing myself as anything in particular, what comes up for me repeatedly is just because I can't see myself as something in particular, does that mean I'm not something in particular?
Well, why not look now?
I have been.
No. So now. So what's the answer?
The answer right now is that I see myself. I see something in particular that I associate with myself, and I also am aware.
What is it? What is it?
It's a feeling, maybe almost like a very subtle sense of myself as being, existing as an entity.
Okay. So there is what is seen, which is this sense of being this separate individual entity, and there is that which is seeing.
And it feels, or it occurs to me that this.
So wait. So look and see what the nature is of that which appears to be that which we call the individual. If you look and investigate what the nature of that individual is, you can see, glimpse, as you say, that the nature of the individual is consciousness itself, regardless of the feeling. So see this.
What I get from that is a quietness, and actually nothing that I can really see or know.
Okay. So you are that, in truth, which you cannot see and know. And that which is seen and known is that which is appearing, is arising from the unknown, the unseen, into the very seeing, now called the display. Again, it's this incredible paradox that which is one's true nature is absolutely unknowable on the one hand and utterly familiar. Sometimes what we're speaking of is spoken of the not being able to see one's own face or taste one's own tongue. So this quiet, this silence, you can investigate that which is recognizable in silence, what is revealed in silence. In silence, there's a sense of being, presence. In silence, what is revealed is consciousness.
Right now, in that silence, I don't know myself really as being.
We'll see. Look.
Yeah,
Is being absent? Of course not.
Right now, I don't get anything from
Okay.
that place. Nothing.
So again, just simply rest in this nothing.
I can't rest there.
Okay.
I cannot rest there.
Okay.
Things are coming up, and I am immediately sticking somehow to them and imagining myself, however subtle they may be, and they're often very, very, very subtle.
Yeah. It's not the way it is.
It's almost like an article of faith to me to imagine myself than to be that nothingness.
Well, it's not an idea of nothingness, and it's not a nothingness that's perceived.
That's right. It's neither an idea nor perception.
That's right.
It's very weird.
Yeah, I think so too. It's very strange. Sometimes. And strangeness can go when it just simply is.
So, for the most part,
See, the problem, though, that most people have with this sense of individuality is that the individual, if one looks at the content of thinking, so often the content of thinking is this unmerciful, self-critical chatter that is in reference to that which one takes oneself to be. So not only do we take ourselves to be this separate individual, we take ourselves to be a quite unworthy individual. And I'm suggesting that it's possible to see if, in fact, we are that individual. You see, the sense of individuality is really found in that story of me, of I, and the story that follows this I. So we take oneself to be the one the story is about. This is like everyday, ordinary, uninvestigated consciousness. This paying attention to this story, I like to refer to it as the personal obsession of my unworthiness and trying to figure a way out. Seeking, hoping, longing. And really, a lifetime is spent in behalf of attempting to get out of that sense of bondage, that sense of horrendous neurotic contraction of the personal one that story is about. And the amazing joke of it all is not only is that apparent individual one not unworthy at all, that apparent individual is just that apparent, doesn't even exist, except as those thoughts. As I say, the one we take ourselves to be. We are not. So why my master would say, look now and see, he would beg and plead. So I say this from time to time in Satsang, how people would work hard and save their money up and make their plane reservations. Finally, the day of departure arrives. Somehow get themselves to the airport with great hope because they've heard there's a great master living in Lucknow at whose feet freedom is possible. A plane going from America to Delhi, then maybe the train from Delhi to Lucknow. Maybe there's a satsang happening the next day. And satsang's happening. Very excited, very hopeful. Trying to get a good seat in satsang. And lo and behold, yes, sitting at the master's feet. And the master's in a teaching mode, pointing out mode. Exquisite, amazing teaching coming from his mouth. An incredible transmission of great grace, open-hearted love, silence. You just want to fall at his feet. And he's speaking now to you, sitting there at his feet on that cushion. And he says, look now, look now. And somehow, after all that, there's not a looking and seeing. And he'll beg, please, look. And then when one looks and sees to that which he's pointing to, there was a time so often this great face of recognition of relief, of seeing the great joke that suffering seeking one never existed. You've always been that which you are. Pure consciousness alone. And in that moment of recognition, the search coming to an end. And because you see this glimpse, which you say you've had many of, one is sufficient really to see what's true. But once having seen just once, then one whose heart's desire is truly in freedom here and now is a ruthless unwillingness to entertain the false. So my master would speak of it sometimes when you have glimpsed that the snake is really a rope. When by the shadow of dusk, that rope once again appears as snake. Maybe even with those fangs pointing out, maybe appearing with some venom dripping, ready to lurch. You simply know fearlessly it's only a rope. Only a rope. No need to fear at all. I've seen the truth of the truth my own self, you could say. No. The nature of that is rope. The nature of the individual is pure consciousness. So when you have seen the mirage as a mirage and doesn't contain water, you are unwilling to chase after it to quench your thirst. You know better. So let go. Or let go. So I know it's true. I've seen it. I can confirm it for my own self. It's doubtless not because I believed him, not because I trusted anybody, but because I put my faith in someone. Because I've seen for my own self what's true. So, if you say you've glimpsed this truth, glimpse it again. Let that be your sacred responsibility. Let that be the free choice that you appear to have.
When I want to do that, I'm seeking and trying.
See that the sense of individuality is found only in thought, in feeling, in sensation. And see that thought and feeling and sensation are appearing in consciousness. Stop identifying with that which appears, and for just this moment identify with the very consciousness itself, and therein lies the glimpse. And therein lies the doubtlessness. The beauty of Ramana Maharshi's self-inquiry is it's available at any moment to look and confirm and see, to inquire again. Who am I really? Not who I appear to be. What is my true nature, eternal nature, unchanging nature? Who am I? This is Ramana's teachings. This self-inquiry. There, Kathleen, you have to get the microphone.
Hi, my name is Lakshmi.
Lakshmi.
Whatever. It seems that, well, first I want to say for the last few months, I've been listening to a lot of your tapes quite incessantly.
Yipes, okay.
It's great. No, it's great. It's been wonderful.
Okay.
And I can appreciate why yipes, but it doesn't doesn't matter.
No, just a little levity, excuse me. Yes.
And I don't remember the wording of the particular sentence, but there was one thing that was said in a satsang either. Doesn't matter when, but and it was pointing to this: everything is happening in and of itself. I spent 9 months looking for a new apartment, which just didn't make any sense to me because the most I ever spent before was 7 days.
Say what?
The most that I ever spent before looking for an apartment was 7 days.
Oh.
And so here, 9 months later, I'm still looking for an apartment. I'm driving around, and your voice is playing in my car, and it's late, like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm still, I'm staking out the next places that I'm going to see the next day. And there's this, it just strikes me, and I stop the car, and I rewind it, and I listen to it. And I rewind it, and I listen to it. And it's like I must have done this 12 times. And then it was like, wow. Yeah, that's true. Somehow, that was seen. And then I listened to a tape by Ramesh Balsekar on free will. And he takes, I don't know if you're familiar with that or with him, but he takes people through that part of what you say very specifically, like he really zeroes in on that part. And so I listened to this tape. And then somehow, I don't know how, there was the seeing of that. And it's like a continual seeing now that everything's just happening of itself, and that seems obvious. Which is a great relief.
It's a great relief. Yes.
Having been somebody who is conditioned to achieve a lot and become something great and la 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 la, on and on. And trying can appear, and trying to accomplish an idea of having to become someone important or someone more accomplished, still more and more, endlessly. And there's no war even with that now. So, with anything. And even if a war appears, there's no war with the war.
Oh, good, good.
It's pretty funny. Well, it seems, I know that, and then there's just so much gratitude, enormous gratitude, sometimes just crying for hours, because it's like finally there's this recognition of what it is that I've always wanted since I can remember. And it happened of itself. And
it's
so,
kind of grace, great grace, this happening of itself, yes.
I don't know that even,
Yeah,
if it's a grace, because there's no one there that it's happening to. So, the experience that's most common now is that nothing that is said is true, anywhere near true. And yet, what is true? That's just a word. Who knows if there's any ultimate truth? Who knows if there's any ultimate purpose or meaning? And so when I was listening to one of your tapes, someone inquired, what is the meaning? And you asked him, what do you think the meaning is? And he said, I don't know. And I think went on to say something like, any meaning that is given is just mind activity. And in fact, the truth is that there is no meaning. And I would question how anything can be known. It doesn't seem that anything can be known. If there's meaning to life, if there's past life, if there's truth. And the one that seems to be the most significant, because there was this trying to have the experience I am consciousness, and there was this. There were many realizations that something sees, and various things appear, and trying to this subtle attempt to maintain a posture of I am the consciousness that is seeing. And upon investigation, my experience is that it seems that this teaching, whatever true is not true. Because what I saw, who is the I that saw, I don't know, it's just, I guess, a way of speaking, is that consciousness is, not period, and
Not
objects
comma.
appear,
And objects appear. Okay.
and any identification with any of it seems to create some little grit, some kind of
Kind of body-mind noting response.
pardon?
A kind of body-mind reaction or noting. Is that what you're saying? I'm completing the sentence. I don't know if that's what you were going to say.
It seems that it's mind activity to identify with being consciousness, just as much, although with far less suffering than identifying with being the sensations or the story, or that's about it, sensations and thoughts. It doesn't seem that there's anything other than seeing, sensations, and thoughts. But to identify with being seeing seems to, in that identification, there seems to be a limitation.
Okay.
And yet, of course, there's nothing there to be limited, but that experience seems to appear.
Okay.
And so it seems that the, not position, because it's so hard, it's impossible to speak accurately, but
So you're going to come back to quiet soon, I could tell.
yeah, and I'm not going to come back to it, because
So to speak only. You'll excuse my imprecise speaking. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, it just seems impossible to speak accurately.
Yeah, it is. It's impossible to speak accurately, but there is a speaking that's in behalf of a pointing to that which is really, one could say, prior to speaking. So hopefully this speaking is in a behalf of. It's a behalf of kind of speaking.
Yeah, and I'm so grateful for this speaking.
Yeah.
And yet I can say also, on the other hand, maybe it has absolutely nothing to do with it. Like, I can't know anything. I can't know that going to see Papaji or listening to a tape or experiencing incredible suffering and then experiencing a release from that suffering, I can't know that anything is creating that.
But it sounds to me, if I'm understanding, that you're speaking also about this great relief of not knowing. And what a great refuge this don't know mind can be.
Yeah, and the experience of Papaji being so enormously, unspeakably, mysteriously beautiful and deeply compassionate and loving, and I mean, on and on. I can't even begin to touch it.
Yes.
It seems like what he's saying isn't true.
So
I am consciousness. Who? Who is this I that would be consciousness?
So it's a way of saying that it's the speaking of the recognition that the nature of what seems to be this separate individual that's referred to as me turns out to be that which is spoken of as pure consciousness. However, pure consciousness itself remains a mystery.
And to,
You see, so finally, we often hear it said, it's really this grand mystery. It's a grand mystery of which finally nothing can be spoken. So then one allows some speaking in behalf of maybe turning one's face to where the mystery is found, away from the known.
it might seem that way, but I can't even say that that's true, because who's to say that somebody is there to turn or to look or to anything?
So to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's leave it at that. So to speak, for now. Okay?
No.
Yes, for now.
Okay.
Thank you.